We have some major Rams updates to talk about on today's episode of the Rams Digest, but I did want to first off acknowledge that Los Angeles is going through a very difficult time at the moment, and I know football is the last thing on a lot of people's minds in the Los Angeles area, as there are many people in the Los Angeles area who are dealing with loss of life, loss of loved ones, loss of lifelong memories of homes, and of pets, and just many other tragic situations going on in the Los Angeles area. I am actually in the Los Angeles county area. Luckily, I've been fortunate enough to not have to evacuate my home. We've had power. We've been able to be okay in my area, but there are many people in the Los Angeles area who are dealing with just tragedy again. And so I want to acknowledge that right off the bat. I know football is the last thing on a lot of people's minds, but I'm hoping if you're watching this video, you are somewhere safe. You are hoping to get some updates on the Rams situation for Monday night. If you want to maybe just take a break from seeing all the news about the fires and the unfortunate tragedies again ongoing at the moment, then hopefully this video has found you. And of course, we have to acknowledge the fires in terms of the relation with the Los Angeles Rams and their game on Monday night, but we will, sooner rather than later, hopefully be able to bring you some more football focused conversations so that we can at least take our minds off of the ongoing tragedies for those who are again fortunate enough to be able to be in a position to seek a distraction right from what's going on. So I want to get right off the bat and kind of talk about the Rams playoff game location. That is kind of the emphasis of what is going on in terms of the conversation about the Rams. The whole NFL now is looking towards this situation as we want to see, can the Rams play a game on Monday nights? At this moment in time, the Los Angeles Lakers have actually canceled their game tonight. That is Thursday, January 9th. They postponed that game with the Charlotte Hornets as it's just not a good time right now for them to try to play a game at Crypto.com Arena. But also head coach J.J. Redick, I believe I saw on social media that he may have either had severe damage to his home or completely lost his home in the fires that are ongoing in Los Angeles. So that's just to show how serious the situation is and how many people have been impacted directly by these fires. It is definitely one of the most major tragedies that we've seen in recent time. And so I want to pull this up here so you guys can see. Here is the Los Angeles Wildfires update to the NFL wildcard playoff game between Rams Vikings on schedule to remain at SoFi Stadium. And I think the reason why at this moment in time it is on schedule is because we still are a few days away. It's Thursday night or Thursday afternoon right now as I record this. And so, of course, the NFL is going to continue with the plan to keep the game at SoFi Stadium. And I think the main reason, and that we'll pull up the NFL's statement here, but I know they want to acknowledge that they do care about the community, they care about the players, the safety of the players, the safety of the fans, and the health of the fans. But I think the NFL does have to acknowledge there is a competitive conversation to have here, right? The disadvantage the Rams would have to having to move their game to somewhere like Arizona, which we'll talk about why that's in conversation shortly. But the NFL has to acknowledge the competitive disadvantage that the Rams would have for moving their game to a place like Arizona. And so I think that is why the NFL has not officially decided to just move the game or cancel it or postpone it. There is too many playoff implications for many other teams involved in the NFL to just completely postpone the game. They would have to play the game, but they would likely move it if necessary to Arizona. We'll actually pull up the quote now from the NFL here as moving wildcard game first before we pull up the quote. Moving wildcard game would give Vikings advantage over the Rams, right? And that's kind of what I'm acknowledging here is that the NFL has to consider that there is a competitive disadvantage to not playing at your home arena, something that the Rams did earn this season by being NFC West division champions. And so I think that is something the NFL is heavily considering, which is what they're going to say here in their quotes. We'll pull it up now. Here's a little bit of a long one, but we'll give the NFL's official statement here. As the NFL's priority is the safety of the Los Angeles community, we are grateful for the tireless efforts of the first responders. Our hearts are with the Los Angeles and everyone affected by the fires. We continue to prepare to play for the Vikings-Rams game as scheduled Monday night at SoFi Stadium. As with all games, there are contingency plans in the event a change in location is needed. In this instance, the game would be played on Monday night at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, if necessary. We will continue to closely monitor developments in the area and will remain in contact with public officials, both clubs, and the NFL. ESPA. And so I think, the NFL is handling this the best way they can. They have to acknowledge that the safety of the community, the safety of the fans and the players is first and foremost here. And of course, again, football is the last thing on a lot of people's minds, but the NFL does have to continue their season. They do have to try to figure out how they can play this game on Monday night. And so they are trying to make it work while also acknowledging that, again, the Rams would have a disadvantage if they decided to move the game to Arizona, as there could be more Minnesota fans there, or maybe many Rams fans at this moment in time who are dealing with, either family members dealing with their the fires or themselves dealing directly with the fires. How many Rams fans are going to be able to make it out to the game, right? Without without acknowledging their family situation, but two, without actually, going to the game and then maybe risking the air quality and things of that nature, their health in that sense. So a lot to consider, I think, for the NFL. We'll see what happens come, Saturday, Sunday, I think is probably when they'll make more of an official announcement on where the game is going to be held. We're hoping that the game can, again, continue as scheduled and play on Monday nights at SoFi Stadium. That's the hope. So that way the Rams can at least have their home field advantage be given to them, right? As they have, like I said, deserved that home field advantage. And we could pull up this story here. I did want to pull up this quote from the Los Angeles Rams themselves, as this is actually posted this morning. The safety of the LA community is our top priority. As of now, our wildcard playoff game remains scheduled to be played at SoFi Stadium Monday night. As with all games, the NFL has contingency plans in the event a change of location is needed. So kind of what we just said, right, with the NFL statement. They want to have the game at SoFi. They're going to try to have the game at SoFi, but, don't want to be want to be acknowledging the fact that this is an ongoing situation. Last I saw with some of these fires in Los Angeles, there's 0% containment in the one in like Eaton Canyon, Altadena kind of area. And so it's more for those curious, more close to like the Rose Bowl, right? And so, there is, an ongoing situation right now in Los Angeles that is the fire is currently burning and moving continuously right now at the moment. So it is, again, ongoing, and we'll see kind of what the updates are over the weekend. Hopefully the Rams can play their game here at home, again, just for that competitive advantage. And we'll pull this up here. This quote from Kevin Seifer from ESPN, as he acknowledges that as well. He says there is a competitive element involved in the NFL's decision on Monday night's the site of Monday night's game. The Rams earned a home venue, and everyone knows that a game in Arizona would have a much heavier presence of Vikings fans. NFL will give it as much time as it can. You want them to be patient, but you also want them to make a decision. And so I think the NFL is trying to be as sensitive about the topic as possible, and understanding, again, that competitive nature. Moving on from that, we can pull up what the Vikings had to say about the situation with the fires in Los Angeles, as the Vikings do show some class. And we can hear from head coach Kevin O'Connell in a second, as we'll see his quote. But we do want to pull up here. We can see what the Vikings actually said on social media, as here we have this story. Vikings show support to Rams fans as NFL monitors California wildfires ahead of playoff game. And we'll just move over to the actual screenshot of the Minnesota Vikings tweet after the Rams posted January 7th that our hearts are with those affected by the Palisades wildfires, and the first responders protecting our community. Be safe. The Minnesota Vikings responded saying, we're thinking of our Rams friends, their community, and the first responders during this time. And what's crazy is actually when I saw that, I noticed that the Rams January 7th had acknowledged the Palisades fire. But there's more. There's multiple fires in Los Angeles right now at the moment, and that's grown since January 7th. And so, we appreciate the class from the Minnesota Vikings for acknowledging Los Angeles, the community, and saying even though just saying that their thoughts are with us. I think Kevin O'Connell says it best, and we'll actually pull it up here now, as there's kind of only so much you can say, right? There's not really much you can say that will really affect the people who are directly being affected by the situation. You say your thoughts are with them, and it feels like it's not even enough because it really isn't. It really isn't enough, right? We could do more. Here's what Kevin O'Connell had to say for the Minnesota Vikings. He says the impact that this has had on people, and it's not the worst aspect of it are the folks that, for starting off, the lives that have been lost, and then you think about the people that lose a lifetime of memories and things and a home that they've, in many cases, built their families. But there's also a lot of people who have been evacuated that are trying to basically make sense of all of this during this time. There's just so many people impacted. There's really no words you can say other than you're thinking about them, praying for them, and just hoping that things start to turn here. And I kind of echo that sentiment. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm stumbling on some words here and there. I'm sorry if I may be saying something that may be bothering some people in the way I'm acknowledging some of this stuff. I just don't really, in all honesty, I don't really know what to say. I almost feel guilty that my family has been, again, fortunate enough to avoid any severe issues in terms of our homes, in terms of evacuations, things of that nature. I feel almost guilty knowing that my family is safe, while many, many families are dealing with, again, losing, even if not losing loved ones, losing their homes. Right, waking up, going to sleep, hoping your home's okay, and waking up to your home being completely burned down. I mean, it's just tragic. It is really just tragic, and it almost feels like really, almost I don't even want to give just the words saying that I'm thinking about them, because it feels like what does that really do for many people? But I'm hoping that people can understand it is. I understand, and many people like Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Vikings, understands. There's not really much you can say except for that, right? That our thoughts are with you, and we're hoping that things can turn sooner rather than later, so less people are affected by the ongoing situation. Moving on from that, maybe to speaking on some more just football specific things, right? Let's get a little smile on our face here. Month-long Karty. It's kind of a play on Joshua Karty's name as, Karty. It's a month-long party for Joshua Karty, as he has officially been named the Player of the Month. I'm trying to pull this up and it's not working for me. He's officially named the Special Teams Player of the Month for December and January. So shout out to Joshua Karty, doing his thing. He's been playing pretty well. And actually, we've talked about this before, right? The Rams offense, they have not been scoring too many points. They've not been playing too well. They have not been getting a bunch of touchdowns in the month of December and January. Even though you want to call Matthew Stafford Mr. December because he's been winning a lot of games, the Rams have not been scoring a lot of points in the month of December and January. But Joshua Karty is someone who has been scoring quite a bit of points. Shout out to Joshua Karty for being the Player of the Month and scoring 50 points in the month of December/January. 11 for 13 on PATs. Not great. You want him to be 100% usually there, or at least as close to it as possible. But 11 for 13. Sometimes you miss those. It's fine. He was 13 for 13 on his field goal attempts and 3 for 3 on field goals that were longer than 50 yards. So shout out to Joshua Karty doing his thing. We talked about this early in the year, right? One of our first few episodes talking about the Rams. We were a little bit concerned about Joshua Karty as a kicker. Was he losing his confidence? Was Sean McVay losing confidence in him? I think it was that Patriots game where Sean McVay probably should have just kicked the field goal, decided not to. A little bit concerning there, but Joshua Karty, this has to be a little bit of a confidence builder for Karty moving forward, going into the playoffs. Hopefully he can go in with confidence, understanding that he can make any field goal as long as he, focuses on it. And, hopefully he's locked in playing well, because the Rams are going to need it, especially with how their offense has been playing. If they continue to play that way versus the Minnesota Vikings, a pretty good defense, a well-coached defense with Coach Brian Flores, it's important for him to make his field goals. We need every single point possible for the Rams to have a chance to beat the Minnesota Vikings on Monday night. We'll see if that game is played at SoFi Stadium or if it's at Arizona's stadium in Arizona, Glendale, Arizona. We'll see. But that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. Again, my thoughts and prayers are with everybody who is dealing with the tragedies in Los Angeles. We're hoping that you guys are watching this from a safe place. Again, thoughts and prayers with you. And we're hoping that this stuff turns around and ends sooner rather than later, so we can get back to hopefully rebuilding and moving forward from this tragic situation. That's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I'm out.